So today we are going to do a little bit of not little bit of so there's one more topic, methods. That is what we are going to do now. Then we will take some fast step questions. Okay, right. So let's discuss what is mean by method. Right. So remember when I explain you the structured programming. Right. Structured programming. We discussed that it's all about data and process data. You can look at the primitive data and composite data, process, operations, control structures, and use of methods. So we have covered all of these. Now we are going to discuss what is this methods. Okay, so basically method is uh, if you want to reuse some code, or if say something like this, say you are writing a program like this, right? Structured programming. Now here you are doing certain thing. Here also you are doing the same thing as part of the programming flow. So maybe after sometimes here also you are doing the same thing. Now you can see you have to code here, here, here. You have basically you have code the same thing. So that is not very good. One thing is your effort is wasted. You have to keep writing the same code everywhere. Other thing is if you want to do some change to that logic, that particular logic, you have to apply that change here, 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 and all the places where that logic is there. So that is again maintenance wise, you have more work. So what we can do is if there are some uh, repeating logic, what we can do is we can put it into a method, right? Put it into a method block. Then here you don't write the code, right? Here you don't write the code. Everywhere you don't write the code because you have written it one place. What you can do is you can call that code when this code is needed. You can just call that method. So you can see now this big code is getting lesser, or the size is less. And also if you want to do some changes to that particular logic, you can just change there, because every places they are calling this method. Okay, so that is why we have concept call method. So the first thing is understand why we have concept call method, right? Otherwise you will just learn about method without appreciating or without uh, knowing why we have concept called method. So you can see method promote reusability, maintainability, right? And also it will make your code less, size also less. Okay, so that is why we are going to learn methods. Okay, right. So we straight away do some coding to explain what is mean by method, etc. uh, right. So right, so basically so this the main method that we have been using itself is a method, right? So that is why we call it main method, right? So in our class so far we have been using just one method. Sorry, we have been coding or writing our logic inside the main method. So likewise, similar to the main method, we can have any other methods as well written in the code, right? So then rather than repeating that, we can put it into a method that call from here, right? So let's do a very simple example. So assume that, so this is just a hypothetical example, right? Say I am adding numbers frequently, right? Adding numbers frequently, therefore I want to do it in a separate method. So what I can do is I can have write another method here inside the class. So let's say so I'm writing it as a static method, static void, let's say add, or I would say greeting. So this is different thing, greetings. So there I am going to say hello world or something. System dot out dot println. Right. So if I want to have this output over and over, what I can do is I can just call it from there. So I will be doing some stuff here, right? Why at the same time there are situations I want to do this greeting part. So what I can do is I can just call it greetings, something like that, right? So now let's compile and run it. So my class is test. Okay, system out printed. Print. So let's compile, right? And I'm going to run it. So my class is demo. So Java demo. Now you can see it says hello Java. So if I want to do it over and over and over, so this is not a very practical examples, right? It, usually we do complex things in a method. That is where we want to have it in separate method. But anyway, so if I want to call this again and again, so I can just keep calling. So that is how method work, right? So always use the static keyword for the time being, so that we will explain when we are doing the object orientation why we are using static and how to get rid of static method when we do the object oriented. For the time being, whenever you write a method, make sure that you start with the static keyword. Void means there is no return type. Void can na කියන එක, void can put na කියන එක. So that means no return type. This is my method name. Always your methods must have these curly brackets start and sorry, not curly brackets, the normal bracket start and end. If there are any parameters, it will be there. If there are no parameters, still you need to have start and end of these brackets. Then this is your code block start, code block end, right? So just like your main method, which is inside the class, okay, which is inside the class. So inside this you can write any number of statements, valid statements that you can write in your main method can be written here also, okay, right? So I hope you got it, right? So every method must have a return type. If there is no return, it has to be void. Otherwise you can just specify the return data type like int or float, whatever. Then every method must have a name. Optionally, every method can have parameters, that is optional, right? So here this is not optional. If there is no return type, you have to say void also, right? But here you can just make it blank if there are no parameters, right? Then, so when it comes to method, what are the things you have to remember? Of course, why we have methods, then the concept of return type, return value, and the concept of parameters. That's all, right? That's all you have to learn, right? So now you know that we have to have name. uh, Here the return type is void because I am not returning anything. Right now let's use some parameters also. That parameters means if you want to send some data to the method, we can use parameters. We already discussed this here. Remember, if I want to send some parameters to this main method, we use this string args or the string array. Similarly, we can have parameters for our methods as well. So I'm going to write another methods now. Right, I'm going to write another method now. So let's call it add. So I'm going to make this method to make two numbers and print the result. So therefore I need now parameters. So assume that I'm using only int. I will say int x comma int y. So that means I have two parameters. First parameter I have named as x. You can name it the way you name a variable. So I have two parameters, both are int x and y. Okay. So now what I am going to do is I am going to add these two numbers. That is why I just call it add. You can give it any name. Uh, I hope you can remember the conventions for naming methods. That is, it must be a verb, right, and camel case starting with simple, right? So it's a verb, meaningful verb, camel case starting with simple. That is the convention, not the rule, right? So let's have a variable again, int, say sum. So I'm going to have sum equal x plus y. So because parameters now you can use within your code block. Now I am going to print that value, right? Now I'm going to print that value, which is the sum. Right. So these are the parameters. Right. So I'm using these I can use parameters inside the methods, and this is called a local variable. Right. So this is called a local variable. Now you are gradually familiarizing with the terminology. If you have variable inside a method, those variables are called local variables. Right. So this is variable inside the method, therefore this is a local variable. These are parameters. These are parameters. Basically, parameters behave just like local variables. So parameters are at the runtime just like local variables with initialized values. Okay. So then we calculate we add those two parameter values and assign the value result to the local variables. So local variables and parameters are just behave in the same way inside the method. Okay. Then we just print the value. Now we are going to call this method. Right. Now we are going to call this method. So let's have this. So I'm going to say add 10 and 5. Right. Right. Now this, when you are calling a method, so name must be the same. So here it is at, so I'm writing at case sensitive, and it asks two parameters. So therefore I have to send two arguments. So these are called parameters. When you are calling the method, what we are sending is called arguments. So if there are two parameters, we have to send two arguments, and the data type must be the same. Since those are int parameters, I am sending int literals, right? Int literals, so that it must be compatible. Okay. Now let's see what happens. So I'm going to compile it again, right? Then run it again. Right, now you can see in between hello Java there is 15 printed. So hello Java is because I'm calling greeting. Here I'm calling add 10 5. So it goes to control goes there. This happens. So basically 10 goes here, right? So 10 is substituted to x, 5 is substituted to y, then 10 plus 5 is 15, 15 is printed. So that is how you get this 15 printed, right? 15 printed. So I hope you got it. Because if you have any questions, you can always raise questions at any time, right? Anytime. So you guys are not asking questions, I know, but semester 3 people are much better, right? So they always ask questions, right? Anyway, when you go to the semester 3, you will also ask questions. Okay. So if you can do it now, good. Okay, right. So that is the concept of parameters. So now we know that methods must have a name. Methods can optionally have parameters. If the methods have parameters, we have to send the compatible arguments. Okay. Now we are going to discuss the concept of return type. So remember, both these methods are not returning anything. So therefore we had to just use the keyword void, right? So now let's write a method which has a return value also, right? So I'm just going to copy this and paste. Right, I'm going to call this sub or subtract, right? So again, I can use the same parameter names. If you want, you can use different one, but the parameter names can be reused because this is in one scope, this is in another scope. So scope also we'll discuss. So here I will, but definitely the name must be different, right? So we call it, yes. So this is add, this is sub, so the name is difference. So I will call this variable not sum, we are going to subtract, therefore I will just call it diff or something, right? Diff. Then so I'm going to calculate the diff value, which is I'm going to subtract from first one the second one. So that is up to you, the logic. Then rather than printing it here, I am going to return the value to the caller. So I have to use another keyword now, return that value, return diff. So now this method has a name, parameters, and also we are returning. So that you can see that the returning type is int. Therefore, I can't now say void because we are returning something. I have to give the data type, right? So if there is no return type, return statement, it has to be void. if there is a return statement, this must be the data type of the return, right? So that is very intuitive. Okay, now let's call that, right? Now let's call that sub. So let's say 10 and 5 again. So here it will print 15, here it will return you the difference. So, right, so let's say difference, so let's say 4, so the difference is 6. But remember here it is returning you something. Therefore what we have to do is we have to get that value, the return value, to a variable. So therefore I am going to introduce another variable int, because it is returning int value. I will say r for result or whatever. So likewise you have to get the result. So here I didn't do that because that method is not returning anything, so that I just call it. But here I am calling it, but I am getting the value to another variable. So now I have to do whatever I want with that return value. So I am going to print the value, because the method is not going just returning me. I am going to print the value. Okay, right. So basically this will result in printing 15 because the method will print it. Here I am printing the value will be 6, right? And of course the hello in the other side. So let's compile and run it. Right, so you can see 15 is there, that is from the add method call. This is 6, the sub method return, and we printed that value. So basically that's it for the methods, right? So these are called local variables, right? These are called local variables. So local variables have the scope only within the method. So the once it goes out of the method, that method local variable is no longer there. And also we are always sending literals, right? Rather than literals, we could have sent our variables as well. So for example, assume that I have int p comma p equal 10 comma q equal 5, right? So we can do like that, remember. So then I can say p and q here, right? So that is also possible, right? That is also possible. Then it is not that you are sending p, basically you are sending the value of p, that is 10, and here the value of q, that is, so let's use the 4 here, and then you get a 6. Now let's run it again, compile and run. Compile, so we'll get the same result, right? Same result. So likewise arguments can be literals, or arguments can be your other variables. So remember, we are not sending p, what we are sending is the value of the p, value of this p. That concept is called argument, so pass by value, right? Pass by value. So actually there are two concepts, pass by value, right? Pass by value, pass by reference, pass by reference, right? Reference. So what happens when you are sending a literal, anyway literal is a value. If you are sending a primitive data type, primitive variable, that means basically you are pass by value. That means you are only sending the value, not the variable itself, right? Not the variable itself. Pass by reference occurs if you are sending a object as a parameter, that we will discuss once we do the object oriented programming. Okay, so there, for the time being, remember, when it comes to parameters, parameter passing, there are two concepts, pass by value and pass by references. Pass by value occurs if you are, anyway, if it is literal, it's passed by value, and if you are using primitive data variables, it is always passed by value, right? So that is something you have to remember. Anyway, we will revisit this when we do the object oriented, right? So another thing related to that is, for example, now don't think that we are sending p, right? For example, I can, so remember this p is basically when we say sub, this one, if I increment x by 1, right? Increment x by 1, right? If you are sending p, what, because p is your x, then afterwards p has to be 1 added to the value, right? But it will never happen if you print p again, right, so let's print p again, it will be still 10, right? So sometimes you might think that okay, we are sending p here, so p is this x, now we have incremented x, that means the p has to be incremented. No, yes, x is value of x is incremented value is available here, but not here, not here. So here it's still going to be 10, right? Still it's going to be 10 anyway. So we'll do same thing here also, just to explain it. So look at it closely, right? So I'm printing x here. So what will happen? Now you, in this particular case, your x value will be 10 because we are sending p, right? So here x value is 10. Now I am incrementing that 10 by 1. Therefore here it will print. Here it will print 11. Here it will print 11, right? But it doesn't mean that this the value what we send is the value of p, not the reference to the p. Therefore still the p is going to be 10, right? So here it is going to be 10, right? So here it is going to be 11. Now let's compile and run it. So if it is not clear, just let me know, right? So you can say output is 15 11 6 6. Why? Obviously the 15 came from this one, right? The 11 came from, remember when you call the sub, it goes there and there's system output, so 11 came from there. So at that point we got the 10. 10 is incremented by 1, 11, but that is local thing because it's passed by value only pass. Still here p is 10, not the p is 11. Though you send p value of p there, it doesn't mean when you change the value of x because corresponding to the p, it doesn't mean it is effective to the method but not your original caller, right? Original caller still p is p, right? So that is why we call it pass by value. So something little bit tricky. So if you think about it, you will understand. Of course you will better understand this once we discuss about pass by reference when we do the object oriented. There when you say send something, you are sending the reference to that variable. Then if you do some changes, when you come back and look at it here, the change will be reflected in the your calling method also. So that is called pass by reference. We will do that after doing the object orientation. Okay, right? So you will not fully understand it until you do the we do the object orientation, right? Right. So basically we have done it, right? Then we have, so remember we discussed the concept of methods, right? The methods must have a name, can have parameters optionally. Optionally you can have the return. Of course if you are not return, you have to say void, otherwise you just have to say, give the data type of it, right? So you can now start writing some code, experiment with that. So the final concept we are going to discuss under method is, now remember these are called local variables. So methods declared inside the methods are called local variables. Why we call it local variable? Because that local variable is available only to that method. So that is why we call it local variable. So other than local variables, you can have global variables also. So global variables means that variable is available to any method. For example, this variable is not available to this method, right? So that is why we call it local. But if you have a variable which is available to any method, so that is called a global variable, right? So how to declare a global variable? You declare global variables outside the methods but inside your class, right? So then if a variable is inside a method, it's local. If a variable is outside a method, then it's a global variable. So the best practice is have your global variables in the somewhere here. Then anyone can easily see that okay, so there is a global variable, right? So we'll have a global variable here. So let's say, so I'm always using the static keyword, static, say int, we'll say g, right? So you can give any name. I'll say 100. So now this is a global variable. So this global variable is available to each and every method, even this main method, greetings method, add method, sub method, any methods can use it, any methods can use it. So that is why we call it global variable, right? Global variable. So let's see whether we can use it. So let's use it in the greeting methods, right? So after say hello Java, this is just crazy thing I'm doing, right? I will just print that value just to see whether I can see it is available, right? So G is a global variable. I'm referring to it in a method, right? Method called greeting. Now let's compile and see whether it is a global variable is available. Java C. Now you can see it say hello Java 100. Why? The 100 is value for the global variable. So this is a global variable, right? Right. So the thing is also, if you change the value, that value change is also reflected. So let's do something funny. So after printing, we are going to increment that, right? So right, so it will print it. Remember, this is postfix. So it will first print it, then it will be incremented, right? So that means next time when you call the greeting, you must see the incremented value. For the first time, it will be 10, 100. When you call it next time, because when you first time call it, now you have incremented it by 1. So next time you will see it as 101, right? So let's see. So that is why it's a variable, right? So variable means we can change, right? Global we can change, but the moment it is changed, subsequent callers will see the updated value, right? Updated value, right? So let's compile and run. Right, so first time it says hello Java 100, but at that moment after printing it is incremented by 1. Now the global variable has 101, and next time when you call the greeting methods, right, next time when you call the greeting methods, now the variable is having not 100, it is having 101. Now it prints 101, right? So not only in the greeting methods, right? So you can access this variable anywhere, any methods, right? Any methods you can access it, right? So I just use it only in the greeting methods. But when the greeting methods update it, the add method can see it, right? If you're calling it after the calling the greeting methods, right? Okay, right. So what are the things that you have to understand when it comes to methods? Every method must have a name. You can't have two methods having the same name in the class. So each method must have a unique name. Optionally, methods can have parameters to send data. Uh, if the data type is parameter type is primitive, it is passed by value. If it is object, it will be passed by reference that we will be discussing after object orientation. Optionally, you can have return type. If you are not returning, it has to be void. If you are returning something, it has to be the data type of the return type. If you are calling a method which is not returning, you can just call it, right? Just call it. But if you are calling a method which returns something, you have to assign it to a variable. Otherwise, you are not going to get any compiler errors. If you do something like this, you are not going to get any compiler, but you are not getting that value. So that means it's useless, right? But remember, nothing. You will not get any compiler errors, right? But this is the way you have to do it, right? And of course the concept of local variables and the global variables, right? So if you have any questions you can ask. So now we are gradually moving to the complicated things, right? So I don't know why there are no questions, right? So that means you are okay with all these complex things, right? So I am expecting a lot of a's, a pluses, right? So it's going to be rain of a pluses this time, right? Because everything is understood, no questions at all, right? Right. So what I'm going to do now is I am moving to the IDE. We have been programming using uh, Notepad. So let's move on to an IDE. Uh, so we are going to use IntelliJ, right? IntelliJ. So you can use whatever the IDE you like, right? You can use whatever the IDE you like, but IntelliJ is the most popular right now. But if you like Eclipse, you can go for Eclipse. If you like NetBeans, you can go for NetBeans, right? but most of the time IntelliJ is the preferred one, which is sort of the de facto industrial standard. So industrial people mostly use either Eclipse or IntelliJ. Okay, but it takes a lot of memory, right? So I am having a lot of memory issues because I am recording this, I am having this meeting. It has taken a lot of memory. I don't know whether I am going to get the IntelliJ. Yes, it looks like I am getting it. Right, you can download this. The free version is there. Right, so you can just download the IntelliJ and install it. First, you must have the JDK installed, which I hope you have already. Then on top of that, you can just double click and install IntelliJ. Okay. So can you also see the IntelliJ window? Please, someone talk.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So once you get this window, what you have to do is you can create a project. Right. File, new, project. So just follow the steps, right? When you have the IntelliJ, or if you have something like Eclipse, you will have the compatible uh, thing. So pretty much you have to do the same thing. File, new, project, right? So it's a little bit slower. So in my case, the JDK is picked, right? So therefore I don't have any issue. JDK is picked. Otherwise, you have to go to the new and show where is your JDK folder is, right? So then it will pick it, right? So anyway, it will automatically pick. Otherwise, only you have to show where is your JDK folder. Then don't tick these things. These things are for some advanced concepts, right? So this Groovy, other things you don't need. You can just say next, right? So here also you don't have to do anything, right? You can just say next, right? Then you have to give a name to your project. So I will say method demo, and you have to specify where you want to save it. I have saved it in D code, so I don't want to mess it with my code folder. Under that I will say uh, IDE, right? So it will save my code under code IDE folder, because my code folder has some Java code. Otherwise it is going to mess, because this is going to create some more files, right? Configuration files. So I just make it another subfolder inside code called IDE. You can give any name. So my project name is method demo. That is my project name, right? Not class name. Then I just say finish, right? So it says there's a folder called idea. Would you like to overwrite? Yes, because I already have that folder. So it will ask whether you want to start that project in this window itself or separate one. So I will say this window, because otherwise there will be two instances of IntelliJ running. So this window. So I can just say remember that decision also. Otherwise it will keep asking me every time when I'm creating a project. This window. Right, now you can see the project is started, right? So what you have to do is expand this, right, and get into the src folder. I will show the folder structure also now. So under code I just created, so this is what they have done. So IntelliJ has created some folders and some configuration files. So all your code will go into the src folder, right? All your code will go into the src folder. I already have, because earlier I had a idea, so that is why I have that code. So demo I will just remove it, because I want to just start with fresh. I will delete that, delete, right? So that means my src folder is not having anything right now, because you, when you code, you must know exactly what is happening also, right? Now I have the project. I just freshly created project, right? Now I am going to create my Java files, right? So just right click on src, right? Src folder, right click and say new, and you have the Java class, and so many things are there. Just select Java class, right? Java class. Then it will ask the name for the class. So I will say method demo, or I will just say demo. So I am following the conventions, D capital, and here the kind must be class. So there are other things like interfaces, enumerations, which we will discuss later. So make sure that the kind is class or type is class. Just say OK. Right, it will create the structure for the class. Right, now you can start doing your coding. Right, so now you can start doing your coding. First I can write the main method, public static void main string args and curly bracket, enter. When you enter, you can see it focus is on the correct place. Right, you can see when we were coding in the notepad, remember I code like that. Whenever I write this curly bracket, I write this curly bracket. Right, so same thing is now it's facilitated by the uh, ID, and also you can see ID has taken the cursor to the correct place. Right, so that is why ID helped me to write good code. So anyway, I don't need ID's help, I know how to write good code. Right, so what happens is, the terrible thing is, ID is helping you to write good code. Some people keep write bad code using ID also. That means terrible situation. Right, so ID is forcing you to start coding there, you code somewhere else. Right, so that is a pathetic situation if you don't know the coding conventions. Right, so now let's write something like this: int x equal 10, and we say, sorry, x equal 10, and I'm going to say print system dot out dot println x. Right, so it will print x. So traditionally when you go to a programming, we do the hello world also. Right, so we do the hello world also. It's like a norm now. Right, now how to run it? Remember, in command prompt we have to use the javac command and again run using java command. Here you don't have to do that. You can just right click in the window itself, or you can just right click in the code here also. Right, you just right click and there is called run demo main. Because my class is demo, it says run the main method of the demo. So you can, it will be there in your menu, run demo main. So you can just run it. Right, so then it will be opening a separate window and give you the output. Right, it will take a little bit of time because I am having memory issues. So it's, you can see the status bar, it is processing. Right, so this blue stuff shows that still it is doing some compiling. So it is taking some time because I have some memory, a lot of memory for recording and call. But it will take some time for the first running also, then it will run fast because it has to do. Okay, now I got the output. Now it says hello world from this line, and from this line, because I'm printing the value of x, I'm getting the x, the value of x is 10. Right, so you can see it's very convenient. Right, if you want to do some change there, x plus plus, and if you want to print it again, right, you don't have to compile. When you run, it will compile again. Right, so you can say just run. Now it will run faster, and so the next time I will get 11. Right, next time I will get 11, 10, then 11. Right, so you can see 10 and 11. Right, right, so that is how you do your coding. So that is much more convenient. Now actually this code will be saved in your src code, you can see. Right, so if you want, you can just double click and see same code. Right, you can use a command prompt to run it also. Right, so it's just help you to write this code. Okay, so that's it. So therefore make sure that you know what is happening. Right, so that is why we have been doing using notepad. Now we are moving to IDE, but we know that what is really happening. So it's just helping me to write this code. Right, then rather than me executing javac and java command, it is executing those commands in this IDE itself and giving the output here. Right, so that is what it is doing. Right, then there are some shortcuts also. Right, shortcuts also. Now you can create a number of classes. Right, in the same project. Now I create another class, new Java class. I will say method demo. So I am following the naming conventions. Right, now let's see how to now if I want to write the main method, So there is shortcut. I will type. Look at what I'm doing. PSVM. So PSVM means public static void main. Now I am tabbing. Right? PSVM. So you can't see what I'm doing. I am tabbing. I got the main method. Right? I got the main method. And now I can start keep. Now you can see cursor is also in the correct place. I can just keep coding in x equal 10. Now if I want to print it, now there's another shortcut. System out println. The shortcut is SOUT. System out SOUT tab. So you get the system out println, right? So now you just have to say X. Now you just have to right click and run. For that also there are shortcut keys, right? So it will run. So you can see you can very fast. You can do your coding, right? Do your coding. So it says 10. And also so there are few other things you can do. So when you type these things, system, so you can see it is helping, right? So system, so, right? So now already system is there. I can it is the first one. I can just enter. Then the O, it will show what are the possibilities, right? So O, so now you can see out is there. I can just enter. And similarly, println, right? Hello, something like so. That is called code suggestions, right? Code suggestions. And the other facility is if I make a mistake, for example, if I forget this semicolon, straight away you can see it is red, right? So otherwise we get that error only when compiling, but now straight away it says there is error there, right? And also it suggests also that saying that semicolon expected. So you may not see it because it's very tiny, but it suggests me that there is a semicolon expected. And also if you compile without fixing it, right? So I am going to recompile or run it, right? You will get the error again here also. But right, so you can see it says error semicolon expected. If you click, uh, it will be highlighted. So this you can see shade of red. It shows me the error, right? So likewise, it is giving you a lot of help. So I can just fix it. Now it's not red. Now I can again run it. Right? Okay, so likewise it will increase your productivity, but make sure that you know what is happening, right? So that is why I ask you to stay with the command prompt. It's okay, right? So you go for IntelliJ, but still once in a while use your command prompt and notepad, which will certainly increase your confidence level, right? So this is good, right? But notepad is better for people who are still learning. Okay, right? And also it will highlight all the keywords also, right? So you know that okay, these are keywords, right? These are just normal things. Okay, right? Then so we'll so I'm just going to write this code because I don't want to type it again. I will take these three codes and include in the main methods and the global variable to here, because otherwise I have to type everything. So anyway, main method I'm going to delete and I'm going to just paste it, right? So the same thing. So rather than writing, because I have already have it. And also there's another thing. Say you miss this. So first thing is you don't miss it, right? So you must be a disciplined programmer, right? But in any case, right? For if you have a bad day or whatever, and you are messy that day, you may miss it. What you can do is you can say Control A, right? Select all. Then now you can see these are messy, not formatted. Control F. Okay, not Control F. There must be some other shortcut. So let's say Control A, edit. So there should be a shortcut to format. Can someone tell me who is using IntelliJ? What is the shortcut? Select all is Control A. Yes. So there must be shortcut. Paste. So we'll do a quick Google search. It's in NetBeans it is Control F, but IntelliJ I think it is something else. I just forget it. So don't worry, Google is there. IntelliJ code format shortcut. Control Alt L, right? Control Alt L. So let's do that. So now you can see it is messy. It is messy, right? I will make it a little bit more messy, right? So now I have the Control A, Control, right? Control Alt and L, right? So now you can see it's formatted, right? All of a sudden it get formatted, right? So earlier it was messy, right? Now Control A, Control Alt L, right? It will get formatted, right? So those things are very handy to keep your code always. I hope that you will never use that feature, because I hope you are a very disciplined person. You will always write your code in a formatted way. But in case you have a very bad day, messy things are mess up, you can format it. And also, if you want to comment these things for temporary reasons or whatever, of course you can comment like this, but you can just select and, right, that is control and slash. It's a toggle, control and slash, so it will comment that entire block, right? So for example, if I want to comment this entire method, I can just select control slash, and if I want to uncomment, again it's toggle, right? So now I told you how to write the main method as a shortcut, right? PSVM, system out println, SOUT tab, right? Then how to indent codes if it is if it got messy, and also how to comment block of codes, right? So those are the things that we frequently use. So professional programmers frequently use, right? So it will increase the productivity, right? It will increase the productivity. For finally, I am going to explain you how to do debugging, right? How to do debugging. So that help you. Sometimes you write a code, it is not a compile error. If it is a compile error, you can straight away find. Sometimes it is not a compile error, but it is giving some output which is not what you are expecting, and you can't figure it out. Of course, if you can figure it out, that is okay. But there are some tricky places due to some reasons you can't figure it out. Then what you can do is, for example, let's assume that uh, for some reason I have make it plus, right? Make it plus. Obviously, that is a very straightforward issue. But assume that you somehow you couldn't figure it out. What is the issue? Now what you can do is, you can, rather than running, you can debug this, right? So that option is there. So here you can see the run method, main method. Here you can see debug the main method. So before debugging, what we have to do is, let's have a breakpoint. So usually I will put the breakpoint somewhere here in the very first line. How to add a breakpoint is, you just, so you can see the line numbers. In the line number corresponding to the statement, you click there, right? So once you click, right, so click a little bit harder, you will get this red mark, red circle. That means you have a breakpoint. It's a toggle. If you again click it, it will not be there. Again click it, right? So you can see you have to click little bit right side of the number, not here, right? So right side of the number, it's a toggle. Now I have breakpoint. So breakpoint means the program will execute up to this line and stop the execution, right? So that is what it's going to do. Actually, not stop the execution, it will hold the execution and let you to do the control the rest of the execution. So that is very handy when it comes to debugging. Okay, right? So what we are going to do, I have added a breakpoint. Now I am going to do debugging. So right click and not running, debug, right? Debug the method. It will take little bit more time, right, because it has to do some background things, but afterward it will come to this line and stop, uh, hold for you to proceed, right? So still it is, so you can see still progress is there, still the blue line is, the progress bar is there, right? Now you can see the right mark, right, tick එකක් තියෙනවා. So that means the control is now here, control is now here. So what now I can do is, using these things I can now proceed with the control. Now, so there are few options. So this one is step over, next one is step into, this is called step 4 step into, and this is step out. හරි, step over කියන්නේ මේ line එකෙන් ඊළඟ line එකට යන්න කියලා. පහු කරගෙන ඉස්සරහට යන්න කියලා. හරි, step එක කියන්නේ step over. step in කියන්නේ අපි ගෙදරකට උනත් ඇතුළේ යනට කියන්නේ පොඩක් ගෙට ගොඩ වෙන්න කියලා. හරි, ගෙට ගොඩ වෙන්න කියලානේ අපි කියන්නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් step in කරන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. step in කියන්නේ ඒක method එකක් නම් තමයි step in වෙන්නේ. එතකොට අපි method එක ඇතුළට යනවා. right, step in. ඔයාලට method එක ඇතුළට යන්න ඕන නම් step in, method එක පහු කරන් ඊළඟ line එකට යන්න ඕන නම් step over. හරි, ඊළඟට අපිට 4 step in එක අපිට ඕන වෙන්නේ. අපිට step out කියන්නේ ආයෙ ඉන්නේ method එකක් ඇතුළේ නම් ඔයාලට method එකකින් නම් ආයෙ එන්න ඕන call ගාවට. එතකොට අපි මොකද කරන්නේ දැන්? step out කරන්න ඕන. හරි, ඒතර අපිට ඕන වෙන්නේ මේ step over, step into, step out කියන තුන තමයි අපිට ඕන වෙන්නේ. හරි, දැන් මට greetings කියන method එක ඇතුළට යන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මට ඊළඟ line එකට යන්න ඕන. මම මොකද කරන්නේ? මම step in කරන්නේ නැහැ. මම step over කරනවා. step over කරා ඔන්න ඊළඟ method line එකට ආවා. හරි, ඊට පස්සේ මට ඕන ඊළඟ line එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. හරි, ඊළඟ line එකට යන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මම ඊළඟ line එකට යනවා. හරි, දැන් ඔයාලට පේනවාද මේ මෙතන values පෙන්නනවා. එතන පෙන්නනවා p ට යන value එක 10, q ට යන value එක 4 කියලාත් පෙන්නනවා. හරි, ඔයාලට හරි ලේසි කරන්න. මෙතනින්ම පෙන්නනවා. මෙතනත් පෙන්නනවා p ගේ value එක 10යි, q ගේ value එක 4යි කියලා. ඉතින් මෙතෙන් දැන් ඔයාලා obvious. නමුත් ලොකු program එකක් වුණාම calculation වෙලා දැන් තියෙනවා. ඔයාලා දන්නේ නැහැ මොකද්ද value එක කියලා. ඔයාලට ටක් ගාලා මෙයා පෙන්නනවා. මෙතන දැන් p ට යන්නේ 10, q ට යන්නේ 4 කියලා. හරි, right. අපි දැන් මෙයා step in කරමු. So let's do a step in now. I want to go into the method. So here I didn't do step in, I just step over. Now for the sub program, I want to go into this method and see how it is executed inside the sub method, right? Inside the sub method. Therefore, I am going to, I am in this line now. I am not going to say step over. I am going to say step into. So step into is this one, right? So now let's see, step in. Now all of a sudden I am in the sub method, right? So I step into that method. Now you can see that the value of x is 10 and the value of y is 4, right? Here also you can see, right? And also the diff don't have value yet, undefined. So if you go to get the cursor, it will say undefined. Now the value of x is also shown here, value of y is shown here, right? Now I can step over because this is not a method. I can do a step over, right? Now you can see the diff is 40. So the value of diff is also now shown because now diff is calculated, right? So likewise, when you go one by one, especially when it comes to loops, etc., you can easily find out where the issue is, right? So I now step over. Now again, even when I step over, I will go back to the original caller, right? So again, I am going to step over. If I want to go into the greetings method, I can do the step in, right? If I want to go into the greetings method, I can do a step in, right? Then step over, and that's the end of it. So likewise, you can do some debugging and see how the things are happening. Okay, so I hope you got it. So let's go to the demo and explain you a little bit. If you are struggling with loops, etc., you can use it. Say I have int x equal 1. So let's take one of that complex logic we had. I will take some code from that we have uploaded to the website, Aurora CSLK BIT. I am taking some code from there. D courses BIT SEM1 programming sorry, code 2020. So all these codes I have uploaded to the website, right? So I will take a code from control structures, right? Continue with label D. So I'm going to put that code and show you how to do a debugging session, right? So I will just take the main method only, whatever inside the main method, right? So I'm going to paste it here, right? So I just pasted it. So you can see this fairly relatively complex logic. Maybe you are expecting some output, but you are not getting that output, right? You are not getting that output. Now you want to figure it out where is the issue is, right? So that is called debugging, right? So there's a logical error. This is not doing what you are expected to do, right? So So now you want to see what is happening. So now what you can do is you can have a debug point somewhere here and breakpoint somewhere here and do the debugging. Now you can see whether it's going to the if condition, not going to the if condition, whether it's coming back to the beginning of the for loop. Now I'm going to keep doing some step over, right? So it came to the next one. Now the A is 1. Now A is 1. Obviously A is 1. Now I'm doing another step over. Now you can see A is 1, B is 1. Here also you can see. Now B is 1. Now we can see whether it is going to the if condition. It should not go into the if condition because B is 1. Right, so now step 4, yes, it didn't go into the step that. Now it is doing the system out with ln, right? Right. So now you can just see how the loop goes, right? So still in B is 4 now, still it will not come to the if condition, right? Now B is 5. Now we know that it must come into the if condition. If it is not coming, we can figure it out. There is a bug in. I have not written this correctly. Now it has to be in the continue line, right? So let's see. Yes, you can see it came to the continue line. Now it must continue from the it will not go into this line. Now if it goes to this line, that means there is something issue, some issue with your code, right? Now my expectation is it goes back to the for loop, right? Let's see whether it's happening. Yes, now you can see it's happened, right? So because it says continue outer, not this one, it returned to the outer loop. Now you can see because it's a label continue, it went to the next one. This one, now it will do the incrementation because now still A is 1. Now it will do the incrementation. Now you can see A is 2. Likewise, now you can figure it out if there are any issues. Now it help you to figure it out the issue, where is the issue is, right? So when you are writing complex logic, these are very handy things. Okay, right? So that's it about methods. So now we are going to do some past paper questions. Okay, right? So you don't have any questions, I know, right? So you are very bright people, right? So let's take the 2019 paper and we take some questions. Actually now you can do half of your paper, right? Because half of the syllabus is over. So we did how many sessions? I think only 3. This is the 4th one, right? Because anyway we were doing that as a quick revision, right? So you can, yes, you can do about 20 questions. Yes, about 20 questions you can do. Altogether only about 40 questions are there, right? So let's take the 2019 paper. So any questions before starting the past paper questions? Anything that you want to get clarifications of whatever we have done up to now? Basically we have done the structured programming. So the next topic will be object oriented programming, right? So let's start some past papers. So 2019. So if you have the past papers, you can refer it. If you have the past paper book, we have given, right? Question 1. So remember this programming subject is some place where you can easily get A or A plus, right? So because this is not fussy, this is programming, right? So in semester 1, programming 1 is another place you can get A, because remember when you go up semester 2, semester 3, semester 4, semester 5, obviously you are going to get some tough papers, right? So this is where you can get the maximum A plus A. Then of course you will keep that habit also. But if you are getting only C or C minus in semester 1, you are going to have a hard time in your semester 2, semester 3, semester 4, right? But because you are just passing when the subjects are easy, that is not going to be the case, right? So you must get A pluses here. Then of course some of you will keep on getting A pluses in the subsequent things, or at least you will be ended up with B or C pluses when it comes to the year 2, year 3, right? So if you are getting only C minuses, right, that means you are really struggling at this level. So that means either you have to work really hard, or you will end up with getting out of the course. Okay, so therefore make sure that you get good results. It will boost your confidence, right? It will boost your confidence, and also it will, whenever you do something, then you want to do it with excellence, right? You want to do it with excellence. You don't settle for C, right? You don't settle for just passing. You want to do it in a excellent way. Okay, so let's take, so you will see that these questions are very easy, right? So let's take the first one. Select from among the following keywords that can be seen in the program. So they have given the program, right? And they ask you to, what are the keywords. Now remember, so how many keywords now we have done? Public, class, static, right? For, continue, right? So what else? While, do, if, switch, case, right? So all the data types, they are keywords, right? So likewise, now you have about, I think, more than 20 keywords we have done, right? And also when you are using IDE, all the keywords are highlighted, so actually you will get familiar with those things very fast, right? But these are not keywords, right? So the system, out, println, those are not keywords, those are some class names and method names. So whatever highlighted here is, those are the keywords, right? Right. So what are the keywords here? Obviously public is a keyword, right? Public is a keyword, so that is answer. So we will discuss what is mean by public etc. later. Okay, so as I told you, you will not understand everything now, but now you have understood a lot of things, right? So gradually you will understand everything when we are done with the course, right? So obviously public is a keyword, class is a keyword, static is a keyword. So we will discuss static when we are doing the object oriented. Void is a keyword that we use today, and main is not a keyword. Main is just happen to be the method name that is run by default. So main is not a keyword, right? So you can see that here also main is not highlighted like that, right? So all things that is in blue are the keywords. All the stuff that is in blue are the keywords. Right. So therefore the answer is uh, other than E, A, B, C, and D, right? A, B, C, and D, right? So let's move to the second question. Select from among the following valid file name to save the above program, right? So we discussed these rules. Uh, so remember, so what are the rules? Can someone tell? A file can have any number of classes, right? So file or source file. So if you take a source file, you can have any number of classes, right? Any number of classes, or just one class, so any number of classes. But if none of these classes are public, you can save it in any name also, valid name also. That is, if none of these classes are public. But if you have at least one public class, and then that file name must be same as that public class name, right? And also, if you have public classes, you can have maximum of one public class, right? You can't have two public classes. That's it, right? So what are the rules? The source file can have one class or any number of classes, but maximum of one public class. If you don't have any public classes, your file name can be any valid name. But if you have public class, your file name must be same as your public class name, and also you can't have any more than one public class, right? So now let's see, according to those rules, all those rules are mentioned in your note, right? I didn't do all those things because it's a quick revision. I did all those things in the class, right? Because we have enough time in the class, right? Now look at this. This is a public class, right? So this is a public class. So if it is a public class, the file name must be same as the case sensitive class name, right? Class name. So now then what is the answer? So it must be ex1.java, because it's public class. You can't give any other name. Public class means the file name must be same as the public class name. So this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Text. So answer is A. True answer is A. So I have the answers with me. I'm already double checking. So answer is A. Right. So let's move on. Third question. Select from among the following valid commands to compile the program. So how to compile this program? Javac and file name. Now already we found that the file name must be ex1 with capital E dot Java, but again remember the file name when you come use javac command, it is case sensitive, not case sensitive. I explained that last in the very first day, second day. Therefore, it can be javac ex1.java. That ex1 can be anything, simple, capital, whatever, right? Right, now let's see the answer. It is not Java, right? It must be javac. Therefore, this is wrong. This is wrong, right? So it says compile. Javac ex1. No, you must have the extension also. .java. So this is not going to work. Ah no, it just asks you the command only, right? I don't know. So if it is command only, none of these answers are correct because the command must be javac, right? Javac ex1. It can be even simple. Ex1 dot java. That should be the command. That should be the command. So none of these have that. You just say compile is not going to be Java, compile is not going to work. Here it says not Java C, it says Java. Therefore, none of these are answers because the correct answer should be Java C ex1.java. But here it is case insensitive. It can be anything, but none of these answers are there. So the answer is 3. The answer sheet, yes, none of the those who have not marked anything will get the full mark, right? So none of these are correct. So that can happen. Right. Fourth one. Select from among the following valid options that can be used to execute. Execute means run the Java program. So how to run it? Java and case sensitive class name. So the case sensitive class name is ex1 with E capital. So what is the answer then? So this is, you can't use .java. This is no space also there. So this is the correct answer, Java ex1. So others are just garbage. So answer is B. 4 answer is B. Right. So let's move on to 6th question. Sorry, 5th one. For the 5th question and 6th question, use this particular code. Right. Following, consider the following program to answer question 5 and 6. What would the output of the program be? Right. So they are asking you to find the output. So you have to take one by one. So what they do is they make it unindented code, right? So that is to make your life hard. Actually, if I make this paper, I will always indent and give you because I am a software developer, I am a programmer, right? So I know this code is really terrible code, right? But your examiner is thinking differently. He mess it and give it to you to make your life difficult. So I don't want to make your life difficult using this kind of things. I want to make your life challenging using giving you some challenging questions. But your examiner make your life miserable by making the code left aligned. But anyway, so you have to live with that. So reality is you have to live with good things, bad things, etc. Okay, but make sure that first thing is what we have to do is check whether there are any compile errors, right? Otherwise you are going to lose that, right? So first check whether there are compile errors, then check whether if there are no compile errors, if there are any runtime errors, if not, what is the output, right? So let's take one by one. So no issue here, no issue here, right? So here also system out println statements, but here there is an issue. So this is not a commenting. So remember, valid commenting is either you have to use this kind of a comment or slash star and star slash. So this is not that. Or the third type of comment is the Java document where slash 2 stars and ended up with star slash. So you have to use either this one, this block comment, or this Java document. So this is none of those. So this is basically messing this in a different way. So this is going to be a compile error. So this is going to be a compile error. No output is going to get, right? So answer is 5th one, answer is error. So it is not saying whether compiler or runtime error, but anyway it's error. So the answer is E, right? Right. 6th one. So if you have any questions or if you need any further clarifications, please ask right now, right? Because I want this to be a very interactive session. The only thing is only me can't make it interactive. You must help me, but you are not helping me because you are very bright. you don't have any questions, right? One shot ඔක්කොම වදිනවා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට. Right. Select from among the following valid comments in Java programming languages. I just explained you. So what are the valid comments? So this one is valid, single line comment, right? Single line comment. This is wrong, right? So there's no such thing. This is valid, block comment. This is some garbage. So comments are not like this. Comments are forward slashes, not backward slashes. So the answer is A, B, C. Right? A, B. Sorry, B is wrong. So B is wrong. A and C. So this is star, not slash star, star, star slash. So this is also A and C. A and C. Right? So answer is, so I double check the answer. Yes, A and C. 6 1 answer is A and C. So let's move on. 7th question. Just make it a little bit smaller. Right. 7th question. Select from among the following correct options which illustrate primitive data types in Java. Remember, we subdivided data types into primitive data types and reference types. So what we discussed is the primitive types. Just we discussed one of the reference type, which is string. Later we will be discussing some more reference types like capital, integer. All those primitive type has wrapper types likewise. So I think we can answer this using our current knowledge. Obviously byte is a primitive type, right? Byte with simple B primitive type, char primitive type, string is not a primitive type. Remember, it's a reference type or object type. Integer, as I told you, this I capital that we will be discussing later, that is a wrapper type for the int, not a primitive type. Math is not a type, it's a library or class in Java. So the answer is A and B. 7 answer is A and B, right? Right, so let's move on to the 8th question. So up to now, I think there are no issues at all, right? So up to now, you should be able to answer all of these questions correctly, right? Select from among the following correct options which illustrate reference data types in Java. As I told you, the second type is called reference type. So reference types are the string, wrapper types, and there are a few more, right? So now you know that byte is not a reference type; it is a primitive type. Char is a primitive type. Yes, string is a reference type. Integer, yes, wrapper type. So we will discuss in that. System is not a type. System, when is system.out.println, system is a class in Java. So the answer is reference types here are C and D. Right? A, C and D. They have taken system also as a reference type. So that is not a very good answer. Anyway, system is a class. So they have taken it as a data type, but that is not a very good answer question actually. Yes, system is a class, but usually system is not a data type. But the thing is, you can argue the other way also. If you take a class, if you can consider any class as a data type also, because so that we will discuss in the object orientation. But that is highly debatable thing. So you can think of classes as not data type because the primary objective of class is not to make it a data type. But any class, if you want, you can consider it as a data type also. So in this question, they have considered, though system is not a data type, system is a class, they have considered it as that common phrase, any class is can be considered as a data type, therefore they have taken system as a class. In that case, basically, if you create a class called account, you can consider account as a data type, right? If you can create a class called student, you can consider student as a data type. For anyway, in 2019 they have considered like that. Therefore, in 2020 also, if there is such a question, and if you see a possible class name, just consider it as especially a Java class name, you take it as a data type, reference data type. Okay, so they have taken that also as answer. Right? Other than C and D, system is a class, therefore they have taken all the classes also, they are now considering as a data type. Right? So it's a debatable, but let's take it as, because both way you can argue. For you, you consider it as a data type, okay, reference type, but it is not a primitive type, right? So now we have another messy code, right? So I hate to look at this, right? But anyway, let's look at it because right. So what they ask is what would be the output of this code be? So this is very tricky question, right? So first look at, because the error is also answer. First look at whether there are possible compile errors, right? So public class, okay, public static void main string args. Then they are declaring some variables, right, in the main method. Byte b, okay, int I 258, okay, double d 325.59, okay, because it's a double, you don't need any prefix to denote the uh, literal. Then b is basically byte variable equal, they are casting I to assign to b, so that is, yes, that is needed because I is a bigger type, right? I is a bigger type, so therefore if you are assigning to a uh, byte type from integer type, you must cast it. So if this casting is not there, there's going to be a compile error. So no compile error here also. So this will take a lot of time. So some question will take time, some question will not take a lot of time. So the time you get from the other questions, you can use it for questions like this, right? Right. So up to now, no issue. Then system out println b plus some space. So sorry, print b and some space. So the space is to get the spaces in the output. Okay. So it looks okay right now. Up to now, no compile errors because the error is there. Therefore, anyway, whether the answer error is there or not, first thing is you go scan through and see whether there are any compile errors, right? So next line, it's printing b. Now it is casting d into integer. Yes, that must be done because d is double, bigger type, and also it has decimals. You must cast it to int if you are going to assign it to I. Yes, that is also okay. If this casting is not there, it is going to be compiler. Then you are printing I. Then you are casting d, which is of type double, to byte. So that is also possible, right? Because byte is a smaller type, you are casting it, right? Explicit casting. So that is also possible, but you will lose precision and so many issues will be there, right? So it looks like no compile errors. Right? It looks like no compile errors. Therefore, let's see the output now, right? So this is a very tricky questions, right? So let's take the pen. Now you have to remember what are the ranges, right? Right, especially the ranges you have to remember, right? So what is the range for byte? What is the range for byte? Because now you can see the big values are going to be assigned to byte variables, so you are going to get some garbage values. uh, so here you need to have that one, right? So byte, the range is because it take only one byte, 2 to the power minus 7 to 2 to the power 7 minus 1, that is the range is minus 128 to 127. So that keep that in mind also, right? Minus 128 to 127. So this is a very complicated question, right? So let's go go one by one again to get the output now. Now here b is not, b will be initially having 0, right? Because initialized to the actually b will not have a value yet, right? So that I will explain later. Okay, b will not have value yet, right? Then I is having the value, I is having the value 258. So 258 is perfectly valid because integer means bigger type, right? Much bigger type. So integers range is very big range, right? So int, so this is the range, it is taking 4 bytes, so there is no issue. 258 will be saved in the memory. Then double d it is going to have 325.59. if you have this kind of a question, best thing is keep these kind of questions to do last, right? Because these questions will take time, right? Right, then so it is converting that int I 258 into byte, and we know that the byte range, byte will take only one 8 bits, right? 8 bits. Therefore, this is out of range. This is out of range. Let's see what will happen. Now you have to convert this to base 2, right? So because I want to do it fast, I am going to use the calculator. You have to do it manually, right? You have to do it manually. So you have to just keep divide by 2. So I am using the programmer 258. So that is 0001. So 258 is 0. So, basically 1, 4 zeros and 0010. So that is 258. Now remember, we are going to cast it to byte. Byte can have only 8 bits, right? 8 bits. So therefore, what happens is these bits will get eliminated. So therefore, these bits, the leftmost bit will get eliminated because it can only keep 8 bits, right? So therefore, the value will be something like this, right? So what is the value? 00000010. That is 2. Now the value of b will be 2. Now I got the value of b because it is losing it actually went to a garbage value. The garbage value is 2 because it can keep only 8 bit byte variables. It eliminate the leftmost value. Now it is having 2, right? Now it is having 2. Is it leftmost or rightmost? Yes, it will eliminate the leftmost value, right? Now it is going to print b. That means it is going to print 2. So the output will have now, so I am writing the output somewhere here. Output will have 2 here, right? Output will have 2 here, right? So let's move on. So you can see almost all the output have the 2 here, right? Then there will be space also, right? There will be space. I will just write the space like this. Now let's move on. Now d is casted to I. Now d is what? D is this one. Yes, it is explicitly casting to integer. So what will happen when you are casting a decimal value to the whole number? Decimal part will get vanish, right? It is not rounding. Decimal part is truncated, right? So remember, that is what is happening. It is not rounding. So therefore, now I will have what? 325, right? Now it is not 258. It is 325, right? Because now I has the casted value of d, right? Now it is printing I. That means it is going to print 325. So now after space, 325 will be there, right? 325 will be there. And now what is done? Now that d value, that is again still the decimal value, that d value is cast into the byte variable uh, b, right? It is casting now. Now what will happen? So that is a very tricky thing, right? So that is very tricky thing. I think this decimal will be vanished and that 325 is going to be casted to byte. So again you have to convert this 325 because anyway this is going to be vanished. So I'm using you have to keep divide by 2, right? So I'm going using the calculator because I want to do it fast. C 325, right? So I will, so it has again so many ones and zeros. I will write only the last 8 bit only. That is now that is going to be on new b. So that is going to be on new b. I will just write it from the calculator. You have to keep doing. I'm only writing the rightmost 8 bits only. There is some more bits here. It will get vanished. Anyway, I will write everything 0 0 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 1, right? So only 8 bits are allowed. So therefore only these bits will be there. So what is that number? So because this will get vanished. So what is that number? 1 2 4 1 2 4 8 16, 32, 64. So 64 plus 4, 68, 69. So 69 will be there, and then it is going to be printed. It is going to be printed. So after the space, so there will be space again because previously there was a space. 69 will be printed. So that is the output. So 2 space 325 space 69. So answer is C. So 9 answer is C. Yes, C is the answer. So you can see, so you have to be very confident of what is happening when it comes to casting, right? So if you have any questions, you can ask. I think this is one of the trickiest question in your 2019 paper, right? So any questions, right? So what are the points you have to remember? When you cast from bigger to the smaller, you must do explicit casting. If it is whole numbers, whatever the width will be used, whatever the width in the left side will be vanish, right? So only the rightmost corresponding bits for that size for the data type will be used, right? Other the bits you have to ignore and get the value, right? And also when you are casting a decimal value to a whole number, the decimal part will be truncated. So that's it, right? So that's it. You have to use only those two rules. I think almost every year you get this kind of question, right? At least one question. Check whether you know how it is happening. So that is why we did those things in computer system, right? And also remember that if you get something like here as a 1, that is a negative number, you have to get the 2's complement also, right? In this case, luckily we never get 1s here, otherwise we have to calculate the 2's complement value and it will be a negative value, right? So but here always our leftmost bit is 0, therefore we always ended up with positive values, right? Right, so it looks like you are not having any questions, so I will move on. So if you have any questions, still you can put it in the WhatsApp also later. So don't keep your problems with you, right? So your task is solve your problems, right? So let's move on to the 10th question. Consider the following sample expressions available in program, in the program, right? So that means this program, right? So you can see here, here, here. So that is basically casting, right? Explicit casting. Select from among the following correct options to name the above conversion process practice in the expression. So what is it called? It is called casting, right? So it is not automatic conversion. Automatic conversion means other way. If it is byte to int or whatever, automatic conversion or implicit casting will occur. This is not automatic conversion. This is not a comparison. Comparison means something like A less than B or whatever. So those are comparisons. Yes, this is casting and also explicit casting. This is not saving. This is not debugging. So debugging is what we did previously, right? Using the IDE. So answer is C. 10 answer is C. Yes, answer is C. Now we are moving to the 11th question. So you can see, though this took little bit time, there are questions you can just do it in within seconds, right? So therefore you can. So ඒක තමයි මම කිය මේවයි questions පොඩ්ඩක් තියලා යන්න කියලා. හැබැයි මේ questions ඉක්මනට කරගෙන යන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ question 5ක් විතර ඉතුරු වෙනවා. පැය භාගයක් විතර තියෙනවා. ඒකට අටක් ගාලා කරන්න පුළුවන්. සමහරට පැය භාගයක් නෙමෙයි මුළු පැයක් ඉතුරු වෙනවා ඔයාලට ඔය question 5 කරන්න. මොකද ඔයාලට හයියෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් questions තියෙනවා. ඒක හන්ද ඔයා මේ ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේව කරන්න යන්න එපා. මේව කරන්න කියලා මානසිකව වැටෙන්නත් එපා. හරි බුදු අම්මෝ දැන් සෑහෙන වෙලාව ගිහිල්ලා කියලා. So that is strategically you have to plan out, right? Manage your paper, right? So let's move on to the 11th. Select from among the following valid variable names in Java. So now remember there are some rules. Now when you say valid variable names, they are not talking about the conventions most of the time. They are talking about the rules. Now what are the rules for identifiers? So it cannot start with a number, but afterwards you can have numbers. So starting can be underscore, dollar, or any alphabetic character, right? Followed by those things plus number. Numbers are allowed other than the first one, and also you can't use a keyword alone, right? For example, you can't have variable called if, but you can have a variable called if1 or if(x), right? Now let's see. By looking at that, let's see which of the following are valid. So number, perfectly valid, right? Perfectly valid. So they are not looking at the conventions, they are only looking at the rules. First name, yes, right? you start with underscore. Underscore is allowed. Underscore and dollar is allowed. Yes. Dollar is allowed, right? Anywhere. Underscore and dollar is allowed. So here is using all capital, but they are not looking at the convention. They are just looking at the rules. Valid. Valid. Compiler will accept it. So all are answers. So 11th answer is yes. All are answers. Right? All are answers. So that is the answer for 11. But if you had something like hyphen notation, wrong. 1x, wrong. Right? So all those things are mentioned in your note also. And also we discussed that in the class, I think the second session. Right? 12. Select from among the following valid logical operators. Remember, we subdivided into mathematical, the equal operator, assignment operator, mathematical, we subdivided into binary and unary, then comparison, logical, bitwise. ඊළඟට arithmetic assignment කියලා පෙන්නු කරා. So what they ask is logic operators, right? Logic related operators, right? Logical operators. So obviously AND is the non-short circuit AND is there. Yes, this is short circuit AND. We discuss all those things. This is the non-short circuit OR. This is the short circuit OR, and this is the AND. Sorry, this is not. This is not. So all are logic operators. All are answers. So the answer for 12, yes, all are correct. Right? So some of these are short circuit versions. Some of these are non-short circuit versions. So everything is explained in the note. What is the difference between short circuit and non-short circuit? So here just they check whether you know these things. Okay, not whether it's short circuit or not short. It's just they check whether you know the operators, right? So there's another code here. They ask what would be the output of code B. First, I will again look at whether it's a compiler errors are there. Otherwise, I will look at the code, right? Public class extend, okay. Public static void main string args, okay. Curly brackets are there. So this is closing of main method, closing of the class. Int radius 3, that is fine, right? Variable called radius. Float area of circle equal math.phi. Actually we haven't done any packages yet. The only thing is there's compile error here. This math class is not available to you by default. If you are using the math class, you have to import it and use. Anyway, I haven't done that because still we haven't done the packages. So anyway, we'll discuss this later. I will just tell you the error. If you are using the math class, you have to import it. So there should be a statement import math.star, right? Math.star. You have to import the math. I think it is the util package, util math or something. You have to import that. So that line is missing. Therefore, this is going to be compile error, right? So this is going to be compile error. So that is why I'm always asking you first check whether there are compile errors. Anyway, we have not covered that yet. So the answer is error. So 13th answer is yes, E, right? So anyway, that still we haven't done to you because we didn't do any special packages yet. All right. So anyway, so forget about that for the time being. Then we have another set of questions. Question 14 to 15. Consider the following program to answer question 14 to 15. Note in the blank 1, blank 2 and blank 3. Right. So there's blank 1, blank 2, blank 3. When program is executed successfully, the following output is displayed on the console. Programming, in the next line, I fun, right? I fun. So what they're asking, select from among the following valid literals to fill the blanks, right? Valid literals to fill the blank, right? So let's see. So programming will be printed obviously. So there are no let's assume that there are no compile errors, but I don't think there is any compile errors here, or here. If you make it okay, there will not be any compile errors here also, right? So let's see. So first it has to print programming, right? Then it has to go into the next line, right? You can see that I is printed in the next line. So therefore what we need here, we need /n, right? So /n is there to go for the next line. So that means straight away we know that it can't be ABC, it must be either D or E, because that is where you have the /n. So now you can see at least now you narrow down it to, now you have better chance of getting marks, right? So either not this, not this, right? So it must be DOE. Now let's look at the rest of the stuff. Then once you put /n here, right? So once you put /n here, it will go into the next line. Then it is going to print is, right? Is, so that is programming, then is, but you can see that SC is not printed. SC is not printed. Then you have to find out what to be printed there. Then fun, right? Then fun. Then they say there's another blank here, right? Another blank here, right? So we don't know what is that, but make sure that now after this there will be is here, but it is not S. Now rather than S and space, you have the fun. So that means, remember, there's a space also. So that means what has happened is that space has come here. Space has come here, overriding this S. So that happens when you have what? When you have the backspace, right? When you have the backspace, it comes left side. So therefore, so it should be /B. So it must be /B. That is why your SC is now missing. So remember, there's a S here, that S is missing because there's a backspace here. Then it is replaced by this space, right? It is replaced by this space. Then fun. And third one, I don't know what is needed, because that's you have double quote now. Now we can see this double quote is not going to print it, but it is printing the double quote also. For to print double quote, you need /double quote. So the answer is D. Answer is D, right? Answer is D. So that is so all those things are mentioned in the note. I didn't do those things in the revision, online revision, but I did all those things in the actually there are some examples you will find in our code also, right? So if you go to our coding code 2020, maybe Java, maybe variables. So somewhere there should be code. Oh, 6 or whatever. Let's see. Hello will not have any these things. Hi. There's no class like that. I think this print one has. Yes. Right. So this one has all these examples. So we did that in the class. So this is the code that we did in the class, not in the online session. So it has the /n. So you can see /n. I think I demonstrate the /b, etc. So anyway, I will demonstrate it again. So just I will take a small example again. So I will go back to the D code. I have the test Java. Test Java. Just to explain it, because those questions are repeated in every year. So then when we get this kind of question in another paper, I am not going to explain it, right? So I don't need these things. So say something like this: system dot out dot println, right? So say I have something like this: A B C D E F G H. So best thing is you do like this. Then you have something like /n and see what happens. Control S. So the best way to do is work. Compile. Run. Now you can see after AB, it has line break is there because I had the /n. Now what will happen if I have the /t? There will be tabbing will be there. ඒක තමයි ස්ටඩි කරනවා කියන්නේ. ස්ටඩ් මම කියන්නේ පොතක් අරන් ඔයා ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් කරනවා නම් ඔයා පිස්සන් කොටුවේ තමයි නවතින්නේ. ඔයා කම්පියුටර් ළඟට ගිහිල්ලා ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් කරනවා නම් ඔයා software developer කෙනෙක් හරි වැඩගත් මිනිස්සෙක් කියලා තමයි නවතින්නේ. හරි. මට පිස්සන් කොටුවට යන්න වෙනවා පොතක් අරන් ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑමින් කරන්න ගියොත් එහෙම. So now you can see there's a tabbing. Similarly, if you have the backspace, right, backspace, you compile Java C and Java. Now you can see A, C, D. Now B is no longer there. Why? It's something like this, right? A, B, then backspace, D, E, right? So you can see. So similarly, you have the carriage return, etc. Right? So everything is mentioned in your note. So they have just checked whether you know what is the backspace character is. Right? So we did that. Control find /B. Next, okay. Backspace, tab, line feed, form feed is not, you can't demonstrate form feed because it can be demonstrated only using a printer, right? Then the double quote, single quote, backslash, right? So you can see there's a big example given here in the note, right? So it has all the things, right? So once you follow all our notes, you must get 100 out of 100, right? So we always double check against the syllabus, against the past paper. If not, we always add it to the notes, right? So 100%. So we do the class to get you 100 marks, not just pass or credit. See, right? So when someone say මේක කොහොම හරි ගොඩ දාගන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා අහනකොට අපිට පිස්සු හැදෙනවා. So you don't study to ගොඩ දාගන්න. ඔයා study කරන්නේ හොඳට pass වෙන්න. හරි? Brilliant කෙනෙක් වෙන්න. So those are the people who are going to serve the society. Okay. Right. So let's move on to the next one. 15th. So the answer is D. Select from among the following the valid names for the selected literal category. හරි ඒ literal වලට කියන නම මොකක්ද කියලා අහන්නේ. අපි පාවිච්චි කරපු literal වලට කියන නම මොකක්ද? escape sequences කියලා නේද? අපි non printable characters කියලා කියනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා escape sequence එකක් කියලා. හරි. හරි. ඒතර මේවට අපි කියන නම මොකද්ද? non printable character. එහෙම නැත්නම් අනිත් නම තමයි මේ තියෙන්නේ escape sequences, right? So that mentioned in your note also. So that is called escape sequences, right? Right. 16th. Consider the following sentence in English. Sentence in English. Note in the blank. Java is a blah blah blah. So let's see which one is the correct one. Java is an object-oriented language. Yes, Java is object-oriented language. Java is platform independent. Yes. Java is case sensitive. Yes, right? So in Java, if you have variable called x, after some time you can't say capital X. Java is weakly type. No, Java is strongly type. We discussed that, right? So that is why we have separate chapter called programming languages, right? Computer languages, right? So I have taken it to separate chapter actually, right? ඔගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම PDF ටික ආයි download කරගන්න. මොකද මම ඔක්කොම PDF ටික restructure කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඉස්සර chapter 2 එකේ තියෙන්නේ දැන් තියෙන සමහරට chapter 1 එකේ. හරි. එහෙම කරලා පොඩ්ඩක් restructure කරා. So all these are correct. Sorry, this is wrong. Java is not weakly type. Java is strongly type, right? So weakly type languages are languages like JavaScript, Python, PHP, right? So Java is multi-threaded. Yes. So Java support multi-threading. Actually, we are going to do that as a separate session, right? So 16 answer is other than D. So let's double check. Yes, other than D. Others are whole answers. Right. So 17 අපි මේක 2019 paper එකේ තියෙන questions විතරක් කරමු. එතකොට ඔයාලට අනිත් papers ටික කරන්න පුළුවන්නේ. අනිත් papers මම එහෙම 1 to 1 by 1 කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඔයාලට අමාරු questions තියෙනවා විතරයි කරන්නේ. Use the following declarations and initializations to evaluate the Java expressions given in question 17 to 22, right? So 17 to 22. හරි මේ questions ඔයා එකක් වරද්දාගත්තොත් සමහරට පොලිමට වර්ධිනවා හැබැයි. Assume that the expressions are evaluated properly in a separate program. හරි program එක මේක හරියට evaluate කරනවා කියලා හිතන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ compilers නැහැයි කියලා තමයි මම කියන්න හදන්නේ. මම මොකද්ද කියන්නේ කියලා. Assume that expressions are evaluated separately in a separate program. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ line එක evaluate කරේ එකේ error එකක් ආවා කියලා ඊළඟ line එක ගැන ගණන් ගන්න එපාලු. මේ separately evaluate වෙන්නේ. මේ වචන වැදගත් ගාට. Assume that they are evaluated separately. හරි ඒ කියන්නේ මේ line independent කියලා හිතන්න කියලා ඒක කියලා ඇත්තේ. හරි මේවා නිකන් මේ line හතරක් ඔයාලා දීලා තියෙන program හතරක දීච්ච එක හිතා ගන්නවා. මම හිතන්නේ ඒකයි කියන්නේ evaluated separately. Because I am also looking at this paper for the first time. මම මේ ඇත්තටම අදයි මේ paper එක දිහා බලන්නේ. මොකද අනිත් papers මම එකපාරක් හරි කරලා තියෙනවා. Right? So I just looking at now. Right. System out println var. So where is var? So this one, this one, this one. Right. So this one. So remember, so this is in your printed note. If you want, you can use underscore to increase the readability. Right. So that I will explain it again. So for any number you can use it. Right? For any number you can use it. So that is mentioned in your note. That is why I am keep on asking download all the notes again. Right? If you have int x, so this is 120,224. So if I print it, මම දැක්කම මම ID එකට ගියාට මට ඕන්ලාම notepad එකට වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන්. සමහරව ID එකට ගියාමයි ජීවිතේ notepad එක දිනවද දන්නේ නැහැ. එතකොට ආයි loss වෙනවා යාව. මම ආයි ID එකට යන object oriented කරද්දියා system.out.println x. Right, so this I am going to compile and run Java C test. So it will print 1234. So Java has provided you for readability. මොකද අපි සමහරට කමා දාලා ඉලක්කම් ලියනවා නේද? කමා දාලා ලියන 1234 ලියන්න අපි සමහරට ඔන්න ඔහමනේ. කමා එක දීලා නැහැ ඒගොල්ලෝ. ඒ වෙනුවට ඔයාලට දීලා තියෙනවා ඕන underscore එක දාලා ලියන්න කියලා. එහෙම ලිව්වා කියලා ඔයාලට එයා ඉග්නෝර් කරනවා.